I just have to preface this by saying it's my first time, so there's that. So about 7 years ago, I traveled to this small island in the Irish Sea called the Isle of Man. It has a population of about 40,000 people, but for 2 weeks out of the year, that population doubles for an event called the Isle of Man Tourist Trophy, or more well known as the TT. So what the TT is it's the oldest running motorcycle race in the world, and it's also considered one of the most dangerous motorcycle races in the world. And the reason that is because typically motorcycles race on a purpose-built circuit. So if you crash, there's lots of runoff room and safety barriers and whatnot. Well, on the Isle of Man, they basically made an event out of taking the main roads around the island, closing them down, and having a race on those specific roads. So it's very fast, and there's not a lot of margin for errors with stone walls and trees and houses and things like that all along the course. So I find myself sitting there in the starting area. I'm sitting on a 180 horsepower, 370 pound Kawasaki Superbike, getting ready to partake in my very first race there. I'd already been there for a week of practice. I'd spent about a year studying the course, watching videos online, things like that, and doing laps in cars on the open roads. So I'm on the starting line. Typically about 80 people start the event. Because of the dangers of the course, they don't do a mass start. What they do is they send you out, they send riders out every 10 seconds. So basically it's a race against the clock. You'll have the riders in single file line, and there's a starting box on the right hand side of the road with an official in it and a green light. But when the green light goes off, there's another official standing next to the riders. He taps them on the shoulder, and off they go. So I'm in a single file line, nervous, excited. I can see all the riders in front of me. Everybody's moving the handlebars, making final little tweaks and adjustments on the bike, just getting ready, to partake in this massive event. I see the riders, green light, tap on the shoulder, bike goes off. Finally, it's my turn to the line. I wait about 5 seconds, rev the engine up, see the green light, wait for the tap, get the tap, let the clutch out. First gear, 90 miles an hour. Shift to second, 110 miles an hour. Shift to third, 130 miles an hour. Shift to fourth, 145. Shift to fifth, 155 miles an hour. Shift to sixth as soon as you can. Look for the hedge on the right. Get as close as you can to the hedge. Get past the hedge, look for the stoplight on the left-hand side. There's a little rise in the road, and because you spent a lot of time memorizing these things, when you get to that rise, you got to stand up on the bike and tug on the bars. You get a nice little wheelie over this rise at about 165 miles an hour. Look for the palm tree on the right. Dip down this hill called Bray Hill, really steep hill. Feels like you're riding off the edge of the earth. The bike just gets light, moves around a little bit. At the bottom of Bray Hill is a big dip. Boom, you hit the dip. Your chest hits the gas tank. Pushes all the air out of your lungs. Big breath. Come out of the dip up to Aggo's Leap. You never lift off the gas. Come over Aggo's Leap. Big wheelie. Bike tries to flip you over backwards. You step on the back brake. You don't want to let off the gas because when you let off the gas, you lose time. Step on the back brake, settles the bike back down, stay in the gas, get to the next leap. Then you come to Quarter Bridge. It's the first braking point on the course. You go from about 180 miles an hour down to 30. That is the first of 37 3/4 miles of the TT course, and it takes you about 25 seconds to get there. So the course is again, it's unlike anything else, just absolutely amazing. From there you come to a section called Balagary, but the riders refer to it as Balascary. You've been in sixth gear, you're tucked in, you're looking through the windscreen, your chest is on the gas tank, your knees are tucked into your elbows for aerodynamic efficiency, and you see the corner coming up, and you sit up, let the air catch you and slow you down. Look for the corner. As soon as you can see the center of the corner, back on the gas, sixth gear, come out of Balagary, a little wheelie down a hill, tuck back in, again, get through it. Next corner is Crosby, sixth gear, 180 miles an hour. Lean over, knee on the ground, never lifting. You come out of that into a wagon and horse's jump, where you actually jump the motorcycle, not very high, but you actually go about 60 yards or so because you're doing 180 miles an hour. Again, it's a place where there's always a crosswind. You got to be careful. If the bike lands sideways, you get a little bit of a wiggle. You just stay in the gas till everything settles down. You come into Greba Castle. Greba Castle is the first part where you really get to downshift and relax. So all of a sudden you sit up, downshift a couple gears. Feels like you can breathe. Your neck is sore because, well, it's been in the wind. If you wonder what that's like, if you imagine driving down the road, down the highway, you're doing 60 miles an hour, you stick your hand out the window, right? You do this, it's fun, right? Something to do when you're driving. Well, imagine that times 3, and it's your head that's out there bobbling around. So you get through that, finally you get to relax, you get to relax your neck muscles, things like that. And again, the course is just filled with many amazing sections. I think my favorite section is called Kronkivati Straight. You come onto it again in 6th gear, just everything is so fast. There's a crest at the middle of a turn in this straightaway. So you come into it again, you're doing about 175 miles an hour. You lean the bike over, and right at the middle of the turn, you go over the crest, and again, it gets light. It just starts wiggling just a little bit. You come down from the crest, and there's a dip, so you're wiggling. The front end shoots up, so you're on the back tire, and it's wiggling, and you're about a foot away from a stone wall. When you stand and watch, it looks insane, but when you're on the bike, and it's wiggling, and you're wheeling, and you're really close to the wall, you're just all smiles. I mean, there's nothing in the world like it. Most exciting feeling ever. Just amazing. You go from there, there's a section called Kirkmichael where you actually go through the downtown of a village. It's lined with buildings and houses on both sides. You really get a good sensation of the speed because, like most of this place, it's 6th gear, really fast, 170, 180, 190 miles an hour. It's loud. You can hear the sound of the bike bouncing off the buildings, reverberating even through your helmet. You get through Kirkmichael, it takes you through a few other sections. There's one place called Ginger Hall, and when you get there, man, it feels like all hell breaks loose. The road is just super rough. It feels like a gravel road, but it's actually paved. You get into 6th gear as quick as you can. The faster you go, the easier it is to skip over the bumps. When you go slow, you kind of go into them, and it upsets the bike more. So 6th gear as quick as you can. You're skipping over the bumps. You can't sit on the seat because it's so rough, so you stand on the foot pegs like a jockey. Keep your butt off the seat, and you can't really give input to the handlebars because they're never really touching the ground. They're always doing this. So you just have to think about where you want to go, look where you want to go, try to guide the bike where you want to go, and hope it goes there. Fortunately for me, most of the time it did, so all was well. You get out of there, you get to Ramsey, then you get to what's called the Mountain Road. You've just come from the roughest section of the course. The Mountain Road, again, really fast, but it goes up to the tallest point on the Isle of Man. So you're running up the mountain road. You've got the mountain on one side, you've got the rest of the mountain on the other side that drops off, and then the ocean. It's very scenic, and the big thing is the road is really, really smooth. So here, you've just gone through all the bumps, you've had all the noise. You don't have the trees, you don't have the buildings reverberating the sound, so all of a sudden it just gets really quiet. The bike's not moving around, it's just a gentle glide up the mountain road. It feels like you're riding a magic carpet, just kind of floating your way through. Absolutely amazing. Last part of the course is called Governor's Bridge. It's a special little section of road that's only used for 2 weeks out of the year for this event. The road is covered in trees, and it's basically covered in moss and really slippery, so you absolutely have to just kind of tiptoe through it. 30 miles an hour, maybe 40 if you're feeling froggy. You come out of Governor's Bridge onto the front straightaway, Glen Country Road, and there you go. You just crossed the finish line, and that was the first of 6 laps for the Superbike race at the Isle of Man TT. So I complete my 6 laps, I finished the race, and I'll be honest, I did terrible. There was 80 starters, I think I maybe finished 50th, 45th, something like that. I don't even remember. It was not very noteworthy, but it was my first race, and I really learned a lot from that entire experience. In fact, going to the Isle of Man really changed my life. When they have crashes there, on most short circuits, when there's a crash, they'll stop the race, right? Stop the race, make sure the rider's okay. Well, there, they don't do that. They just wave a yellow flag and say, hey, slow down. So you have to ride through a crash where potentially somebody just died. And in practice week, I came through a section and I see a bike. It looked like a bomb went off. Just parts everywhere. Part of the grass bank was just torn out, thrown all over the road. And I saw the rider laying on the ground, arms folded across his chest. And I think, man, I don't think he made it, that guy. And it was my second day of practice. And I listened to what everybody had told me before. You have to put it out of your head. So back to sixth gear I went, continue on with the course, come into practice to find out that was a housemate, a guy that I was staying with, one of the 4 Americans from the U.S. who was actually racing in the TT. He ended up being okay and surviving, which was great. They did end up losing another rider before the end of the 2 weeks. Before the end of the 2 weeks. But in seeing the crashes, seeing the experience, I'm on this island. I don't have my friends there, my family or anything. I'm pretty much by myself. And you had spent a lot of time walking around and reflecting. And it was at that point I was working a job, making 6 figures in the Washington, D.C. area. But I hated it, hated the area, hated the job. I was just doing it for the money. And I'm there on the island thinking, you know, what matters right now? And I can tell you what did matter, and that was the size of my bank account. At that point, I made the decision to go home, put my notice in on my job, move back to Louisville where all my friends and family were, started a job making $10 an hour doing manual labor, and have never been happier since.